Good morning, everyone. I propose we get started. Welcome to this webinar on the Science-Based Target Initiative Professional Certification for Consultants. I'm very happy to see so many of you joining us today. I'm the host today, but my role will be very limited because I will basically just do the introduction and then give the word to the other three people you see here on the screen who will do the heavy lifting today. So for those who don't know me yet, I'm Kenneth, one of the co-founders and CEO of Carbon+Alt+Delete. Carbon+Alt+Delete is a carbon accounting software platform, and we work exclusively with sustainability consultants across Europe. And those consultants use our platform to help their clients calculate their carbon footprint, reduce their carbon footprint, but also to set science-based targets. Today, as said, the heavy lifting will be done by Juliet, Mehdi, and Elif. Juliet and Mehdi from the Science-Based Target, and Elif will give a testimonial on the professional certification. What I propose is Juliet, Mehdi, Elif, that you each quickly introduce yourself. Juliet, you want to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kenneth. So my name is Juliette Brie. I'm a senior analyst within the target validation team at the SBTI. So I sit within the team that assesses and validates companies and financial institutions' targets. And it's a pleasure to be speaking today. And I'll hand over to Maddie.
Awesome. Morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. It's great to see such a big number on the webinar today. So I'm Maddie, I'm the Learning and Development Specialist. So I'm the one that's been co-leading on the professional certification and the big outreach of the new SBTI Academy, which is our big e-learning platform that's just launched about 3 weeks ago. Awesome. I'll hand over to you, Elif.
Thank you. So I'm Elif, and I'm one of the first SBTI experts in the world currently, and I'm on the Sustainability Strategy and Solutions team at Guarantee BBVA. I will be talking about my certification experience today. So thank you.
Thank you. Very happy to have you here. Very confident that the content that you will bring will be of great interest and added value to everyone here in the call. Before we dive into the content, some quick housekeeping rules. We're very happy to have a big audience. The downside is that it's a bit more difficult to make it very interactive. So that means that by default, you're muted and you cannot unmute yourself. And your camera is also switched off. You cannot switch your camera on. Apologies for that. The good thing is you can basically follow this webinar from wherever you are in whatever condition or clothes you want to be in, right? That being said, we like to trigger some interaction. It will be through the chat, right? So there is a Teams chat. Some of you have already been using that to quickly introduce yourself. So please continue using that chat for any question that you have. You can also have the Q&A chat. There is a Q&A dedicated chat in Teams where you can upvote each other's questions. We know that it's not always working for everyone, so feel free to use whatever chat works best for you. If there are other questions from other people that you like to see answered, feel free to give them a thumbs up so that we can also manage the Q&A throughout the webinar and towards the end of the webinar. Before I really give the word to Mehdi, would like to have a better understanding of who's in the call. So we have set up a Mentimeter with basically 2 questions. Before I go through the question, you can go to menti.com and then use the code that you see here on the slides. I think my colleague Christine will also put the link directly in the chat, or you can just with your smartphone scan the QR code and then you will see 2 questions. The first question is, what is your experience with the science-based target, right? Is this all new for you? Have you heard about it? Do you have hands-on experience or are you really an expert? So I see the first questions coming in. That's great. I'll give people a bit more time to answer before we go to the next question. So we have more than 100 answers in. So the majority of the people definitely know what science-based targets is about, but have not used it or only used it a handful of time. Very good. That helps the speakers today to understand who's in the audience. The second question is specifically on this professional certification in the Academy. What do you know about it? It's a pretty new initiative. So I'll give people a bit more time to answer. And it seems that it's very good. We do this webinar because I think there's still a lot of information to be shared and people to be informed about what this is. Very good. With that, that wraps up the intro. I'll stop sharing my screen and then maybe I give the floor to you. We can see the slides and if you unmute.
Amazing. Okay, perfect.
There you are.
I was taking a little bit of time. There we go. Yes, so we're going to be speaking today about the SBTI certification, which is our new service at the SBTI. So it's really exciting for us. We've only been launched for 3 weeks, so we're great to be chatting about it today and what it means, hearing from testimonials, and sort of why we've gone to do this. So I'll just hand over to Juliet first, because I know on that slide we just figured out that maybe some individuals don't know who the SBTI are, what we get up to. So we'll start there first. I hand over to you, Julia.
Thank you, Maddie. So going back to the basics, what is the SBTI? Who are we? So the Science Based Targets Initiative, or more commonly known as the SBTI, it's a corporate climate action group that helps companies and financial institutions take credible science-based action on climate change. A little known fact is that the Science Based Targets Initiative is actually divided into 2 entities. We have SBTI Charity that develops the standards, the tools, and the guidance that enables organizations to set science-based targets in line with climate science. And then we have the wholly owned subsidiary of SBTI Charity, SBTI Services. So SBTI Services hosts the target validation services, where we would assess and validate organizations and targets. So there are partner organizations who have facilitated SBTI's growth and developments in these past 10 years. So these are CDP, the United Nations Global Compact, the We Mean Business Coalition, the World Resources Institute, and the Worldwide Fund for Nature, or WWF. Currently, we stand at 11,000 plus organizations that have set or committed to science-based targets via the SBTI. So we've seen a lot of growth in these past 2 years, with a particular growth in Asia, and especially within Japan. So we're quite a fast-paced organization at the minute, growing every day. So it's a very exciting space to be in. And with that, I'll hand back over to you, Maddie.
Amazing. Awesome. So I guess the second slide then that we learned about that little Mentimeter at the start was that maybe some individuals are at a stage right now where we've done a little bit about SBTI and maybe we need to kind of upskill in those areas, and that's something we're chatting about today. The most of the conversation today will be about the certification. So that will be really kind of on the right-hand side, you can see for experts. But I want to preface by saying that we have launched the SBTI Academy, where the SBTI certification sits within. And the Academy is an amazing e-learning platform that you can head to. We've got this split up into 3 areas. The first is the onboarding hub, and this is e-learning for those that maybe just want to understand what the SBTI is, think about technical concepts, maybe you want to kind of look at a few sectoral pathways. So maybe you're an SME and you'd like to understand why the SBTI is relevant for you, for instance. So all the modules within the onboarding hub are totally free to access. So this is something that we've done to really try to get the word out about SBTI, understand the nuances and how difficult it sometimes can be to understand what we do as an organization. So you'll see here on the right-hand side that there is a link to go to this. So all you type in is SBTI Academy or Science Based Targets Academy, or you can use the QR code there. And then the second part we've got of the SBTI Academy is the Practitioners Hub. And maybe this is for those that are working with the SBTI in a kind of practical sense, or maybe you're working with universities or colleges and hoping to kind of upskill in what this looks like. So it's really kind of those that would understand it on a professional basis. So you can get access to both of these, and the Practitioners Hub is also 50% free. And there are a few paid for modules within that, but the majority of content within our training side of things is totally free. Just to preface here, the training is actually very separate to the certification. So the certification in itself doesn't have a sort of training route to get to certification. It is very much for those that are at that stage where they're ready to take an assessment and gain this qualification. But the training side of things can be really beneficial. So maybe you're looking to upskill your team and take them through these processes. So that's what it looks like, the training side of things. So that kind of one side of the SBTI Academy. And this is obviously around kind of developing your knowledge base. You can see here the modules that are included. So all those on the left-hand side, the onboarding hub, are totally free. And on the right-hand side, all those on the left-hand side, so the exploring modules, again, are totally free. And it's only once you get to the applying stage where we look to case studies and how to really take this knowledge and put it into practical sense, that's when those modules are paid for. So this is where you could start potentially if you're at the stage right now where you're thinking, oh, maybe I'm not at the stage where I could take an examination on SBTI, but I'd really like to upskill in this area and also to upskill my wider team. So hopefully that sets the kind of precedence of what we've launched here. We've launched this large e-learning platform. And then what we'll be talking about today is the certification. And this is a new movement for us. It's only the second service that we offer at SBTI behind validation process. So this is a formal 7-part assessment, and it will take you through the nuances of what SBTI are, and what you need to do and the types of GHG emissions that you need to account for, the inventories, what targets you need to look for, and how to set those. So it's quite an intricate process to go through. And it's all around applying the SBTI standards, GHG protocol, and the requirements for target validation. So who it's sort of mainly intended for are for sustainability, climate, ESG consultants. And this can either be in-house consultants, maybe you're heading up in a particular company about this, or maybe you work in a climate consultancy, for instance. Or the other side is freelance professionals leading on this change, and they've been working with companies all across the world to do this. And that's why we're going to be hearing from our certified expert today, who started off as a kind of freelancer and now is in an organization, which is really exciting. So it is an assessment-based credential. As I said, you do get access to all of the training that you would like to look at if that's helpful to kind of fill those knowledge gaps. But it is very much ready to be at a stage where you're already classified really as an expert, and it's that validation of your expert or verification of your expertise. So this is what it looks like. So these are the 7 modules that you would go through. They range between 30 minutes examination up to 2 hours. So some are very, very intricate, and they vary on the types of questions. The pass mark, for instance, is varied between how difficult each module is. And you will get the option to take each module twice. So if you fail the first time, you will get the option to sit that module again. They are taken from a very large pool of questions, so the likelihood of you getting the same questions in each assessment is unlikely, or between yourself and a team member, for instance. And what the kind of main part that you get from this, the certification, is our badge on the right-hand side. So the ability to call yourself an SBTI expert, to be registered in a directory, and also to get this large certificate as well that you will get to share with your community or your organizations that you're working with. So we'll go a little bit more into that at the end, but these are the 7 areas of expertise that you're expected to be really, really qualified in to pass this assessment. So just a little bit more on the assessment style and the approach side of things. So it's mostly multiple choice, and it's a completely online examination. There's no written test or anything like that. As I mentioned, they're taken from a wider pool of questions, and you will get 2 attempts per question. But because we've mentioned there are 7 sections, they are completely split up and separate from one another. So you don't need to sit them all in one go. It would be about 15 hours of assessment time. Nobody's got the ability to stay awake for that long. But what we have done is split them up so that you're able to do them in small chunks and to kind of reassess how those went before starting a new one. And what we do offer, even though we don't offer a training to pass this, for instance, we do offer readiness packs, we offer flashcards and reading lists to really make sure that you're aware of all the knowledge that you would need to know to be able to fit each question and each assessment. And when you go into each assessment area, you will see within that there are case studies and data packs and things like this that will really kind of showcase to you what it would be like to work with an organization. There are companies that we've invented and stories and backgrounds with their own GHG data and company profiles, so that it's really based on how you would practically work with an organization. Amazing. So I'll hand over to Juliet for this one, because she's more of our technical lead on this side. And just to go through who is the kind of ideal profile. So maybe you're sat thinking right now, is this right for me? Or maybe is this right for me in 6 months' time, once I've had kind of more experience working with SBTI? So I'll just hand over to you, Juliet, for this one.
Thank you, Maddie. And just before I jump into the ideal profile, we can see the questions that are coming in. We do have a dedicated time towards the end of the webinar to go through those queries. And just a kind reminder that the topic today is the certification program. So if there's any topics that are more about wider SBTI, we may not be able to address those. Today, the focus is the certification program. But getting back into certification for the ideal profile. So as Maddie has already mentioned, this is intended for experts within sustainability. So ideally, the person would have a strong understanding of the SBTI and GHGP standards. So this would be, for example, within the SBTI, near-term and net zero criteria, but also sector-specific criteria. As many of you may be aware, those do exist on our webpage, and some of them are required for certain sectors. The second thing would be that the participants would be confident in navigating the complexities of GHG accounting and reporting. I'm sure we've all experienced those complexities, especially around Scope 3 emissions, for example. So that strong understanding of the complexities of reporting downstream Scope 3 categories, for example, is quite crucial for the certification program itself. The participants should also be knowledgeable in target setting approaches, from cross-sector absolute targets, for example, to sector-specific SDAs. We have many SDAs that may be applicable depending on what sector a company may be in, for example, buildings, power, automakers, etc. So participants should be comfortable knowing what the requirements are around the ambition, the coverage, the requirements in GHG reporting around those sectors. And then obviously there's the SBTI specific requirements. One thing that we see a lot within the target validation team is misunderstandings around these SBTI specific requirements, for example, around target revalidation requirements, forward-looking ambition, and once again, the sector-specific SDAs, which are quite unique to the SBTI. And finally, on a more positive note, participants should be excited to navigate the validation process more efficiently, so that the process is a little bit smoother. And yeah, they'll have a general deeper understanding of SBTI and the greenhouse gas protocol requirements. And that was everything regarding the ideal profile. So I'll hand back over to you, Maddie.
Great, thanks, Juliet. So really why we've chosen to go down the route of creating a certification, as Juliet mentioned. So we're trying to create a really high standard of how is the SBTI criteria being interpreted across sectors, across individuals, across companies, for instance. And so in order for us to create this certification process, it's been in the works for about 18 months of figuring out where the issues have been and maybe where we need to really clarify our interpretation and the application of the standards. And then as a result from this, we've created this kind of 7-part assessment that's really taken through the nuances of what this looks like and how we should interpret the SBTI standards. And really the kind of main part for us is that we know that there are experts across the world in many, many regions and countries that have this knowledge. And we really wanted to create this kind of global community of engaged and activated network of trusted experts. So that's the kind of main reason behind certification. So we really wanted to give these individuals, or maybe kind of wider teams in organizations, the credibility behind the knowledge already got. So we're really excited now that we're up to 55 people worldwide with this certification, having only just launched for 3 weeks. And we did have a kind of early cohort that joined us prior to launch, of which Aleph was a member of. the other side for us is increasing that validation efficiency. It can be really frustrating for individuals, whether you're a consultant or organizations going through the process and not kind of understanding the nuances and having to go back and forth. So for us, it's about creating that higher quality of submissions so that actually the validation process is much more simple and much more understood widely as well. So the side for us is the other side is credibility and recognition in the market. So as I mentioned about, we know that there's these experts out there, and how do we help them in kind of supporting them on what qualifications are actually useful in this kind of application, and then differentiation in the market as well. We know that there are a huge number of sustainability generalists out there, and it's becoming quite a difficult space to differentiate yourself, whether that's internally in organizations or whether that's externally as a freelance consultant, for instance. And then the one that's most exciting for us is bringing together this community. We've been really fortunate to be able to get to know quite a few of our certified experts. We're hosting events for our certified experts to get together and kind of showcase their experiences as well. Just to preface, it's not for us to say, okay, we'll only work with the global community of certified experts. That's not our ambition at SBTI at all. We're very kind of inclusive in who we will work with and what that looks like and who goes through validation. But for us, it's more about bringing these certified experts together and starting to learn maybe particularly the nuances that they've got and the difficulties that they're facing, so that it actually helps us in the long run make our standards and validation process much better. And then the other side is that for you as an individual, as this is an individual professional certification, you will get, once you pass, an aspect into our certification register. And this is really exciting for us because we're able to showcase who these individuals are worldwide. And you can start to see here, we've got individuals across Europe, across North America, and we've got people represented in lots of different countries, and we're starting to see the first individuals from Turkey, for instance, the first individual from Indonesia to be certified. And so really giving them a platform on our SBTI services page, we can start to showcase where this knowledge is held across the world. So with that, then I'm going to hand over to you to give your experience. So, one of our August past people for our certification, which was really exciting for us. So even though we only launched officially 3 weeks ago, we did open it up to a kind of small network in August so that we could get pre-certified individuals. I'm excited to hear your experience and how you found certification and what you've gone on to do since doing certification.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maddie. Hello again, everyone. I'm Elif. I would like first to thanks Maddie, Juliet, and Kenneth for having me today. I'm really happy to be here as one of the first SBTI experts globally. So I plan to talk a bit about my journey first, and then I will talk about my experience with the certification. So previously, I worked as a climate consultant in Turkey for about 4 years. And during that time, I helped about 7 companies to set their SBTI targets validated. And 3 of them companies were the Turkish banks. And one of them banks actually became the first bank in Turkey to have their SBTI targets validated. On the other hand, as a consultant, I helped more than 30 companies to report to CDP. So I supported them creating their climate strategies, transition plans, and climate scenario analysis. And some of these companies even made it to the CDP A list. So that they were really rewarding. All of these experiences made me actually realize like how the climate and sustainable systems work in practice and how everything is actually connected to financial systems. After my consultancy work, I started my master's in climate finance and investment in UK. And my goal there was to understand how climate and finance is related. And so during my master's for my dissertation, I focused on whether companies with validated SBTI targets have better access to finance. This is because currently the climate strategies are becoming even more related to financial risks and decisions around the world, since the TCFD S1 and S2 standards. So at this point, when I first heard about the SBTI Academy and the certification process, I saw it as a great opportunity for myself, because it was a great chance for me to make my professional and academic experience official. So I decided to join this process. About the certification itself, I can say that if you already have some experience with the SBTI projects and SBTI standards, the certification is quite clear and simple. For people who have worked with SBTI standards before, it's not really difficult. After a short preparation and review of some documents, you can really pass the exams successfully. But the most important thing for me was to read the exam questions really carefully, because so that I do not miss any technical and important points. But if you are new to SBTI and you're not really familiar with its standards, the SBTI Academy also provides you with the preparation modules that Mehdi has mentioned before, and they explain everything in a really helpful way. I personally didn't spend much time to learn anything new or didn't study that hard to pass the exams, but I applied my current knowledge. So that's why I purchased only the certification hub package. And that certification hub package also included some useful materials like some sample questions, flashcards, some short notes, and really useful exam tips. And these documents really helped me feel more confident during the exam and save me lots of time. As closing, I can say that for me, this certification basically helped me to stay closer to the future of climate change standards globally. And I can say that I actually received the SBTI certification as an individual consultant, but shortly after, very recently, I joined the sustainable strategy team at Garanti BBVA in Turkey. And from now on, I feel really excited to bring my experience into the banking sector in Turkey. And I'm looking forward to seeing even more people to join SBTI Academy. And yeah, that's all from me. So thanks so much for everyone and your time. And I can hand it back to you, Mehdi. Thank you.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's so great to really just work with our certified experts and to showcase their experience. And obviously you can see that Elif has got so much experience working with the SBTI. So we're really grateful now that she's part of our certified experts along this journey as well. So I guess what we'll do just kind of start to wrap up. And so we'll start to look at the questions that are in our chat. So the first place to go to if you're thinking right now, okay, I've started to find out a little bit about this, but I still have many different questions, because we know that this is a new service for us. We know that SBTI is stepping into the certification side. It can be kind of confusing what this looks like and where do I stand? Do I want to go down the route of just doing the training and on the SBTI Academy, or am I ready to start going through certification? So a good place that you can start is the FAQs on our website. So the same site that's been linked throughout in the QR code, and we'll pop this in the chat as well. And this just goes through the kind of nuances. So whether you're an individual or part of an organization, this certification is open to anyone with this experience with SBTI and going through this validation process. It is an individual certification, so you can choose to either purchase yourself and just be listed as an individual, or you can go through your company and have your company listed as part of the certification as well. So we'll start to kind of branch out into more of these FAQs as well, I'm sure, throughout the conversation and the questions that you've got in the chat. So we'll save the rest of those for that. But just to kind of preface that these are the questions that right now we have got the answers for on the site, if your question hasn't already been answered for that side. And as I mentioned about, we're trying to do now as much outreach as we can to really bring together more communities of these certified experts, or maybe individuals that are interested in starting a part at SBTI certification. So I just want to preface to say that we have got an event next Thursday and on October 30th, and it is hosted at our offices in London. And we will be bringing together some experiences of SBTI certified experts that are based in the UK, and they'll be giving their experience. And we'll also be sharing a kind of panel discussion as well with our executive director of SBTI services and our head of impact program and operations will be joining us. So it's a really great opportunity to hear about the new things that are happening at SBTI, as well as the certification launch as well. So there are still tickets left for that. And again, we'll pop this in the chat. They will be closing, I think, on Sunday. So try to get a ticket as soon as you can. And then the last thing that I'll mention about is if there is anybody on the call today that's thought, okay, actually, I'm at a stage where I'm ready to go through this. Maybe I want to take my entire team through this process, or I want to kind of find out a little bit more information as to what this would look like. There is an opportunity to book a meeting in with us. So again, we'll pop this in the chat and you'll get a follow-up email with this link. So don't worry if you're typing away right now and you can't get this link to hand. And this is a 30-minute meeting, so you're able to kind of ask all questions around certification. And just to preface, not around broader SBTI side of things. My specialty is definitely in certification side. And then because it's been amazing to see so many of you on the call with us today, we've decided to offer a 10% code off for everybody because we've been working very closely with Carbon+Alt+Delete and putting this together and supporting and outreach into their network, and they've been amazing to host us. So if you use the code CAD10, that will be available. It will actually be available for 2 months. We've extended that a little bit. And if you are a team of more than 5, please get in contact with us directly, because we can onboard team members together so that they can kind of coordinate their approach and how they're going to be taking the certification. And that also means kind of widely invoicing the company rather than it being a checkout process at the certification stage. So what we'll do now is we'll head to the Q&As. So I'm sure you've been keeping an eye on what's been going on there. I'm sure there have been lots of questions. I'm going to just head back to the main screen so that we can go to those. Is there been any that have come up, Juliet, that you haven't been able to answer or you think needs to be spoken about?
Yeah, I'll answer in the place of Juliet. She has apparently not full visibility on the Q&A, right? Teams has its wonders, but there have been some very good questions coming in, both in the chat and in the Q&A. So I would still invite people to put their questions in there or upvote other questions. I think I just look at the question with most votes, right? There's basically questions on the timelines, both the time to have a basic understanding of science-based target up to the point that you're ready to do the exam, but then also the lead times or the time that you get to go through all the different questions. So I don't know whether that's probably a question both to Mehdi and to Elif at the same time, but I think it would be very helpful if you can comment on that for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the certification side, so as we mentioned, you don't have to do them all at once. And maybe we'll hear a little bit about the experience of actually going through it. But you have 3 months from when you purchase to actually pass all sections of the certification. So that does give you a lot of time to maybe take a couple of weeks to look through all the resources that we provide, maybe do some of the training modules just to fill those kind of knowledge gaps and to check that you're aware of what's going to be needed. And then from that point onwards, you can start to work through the certification kind of slowly and making sure that you save enough time for extra revision and preparation just in case you don't pass the first time through each module. And within each module, there are a lot of resources. So we would recommend somebody to really kind of do as much exploratory time as they can and understand what the resources are, which section that they relate to, and how will that be beneficial, and how will they kind of formulate their preparation time. So are they going to use sort of 2 screens, or are they going to print this out, or sort of figuring out for them the preparation that they need. Is there anything that you would add, maybe, Elif, around your experience of how long it actually took you from creating an account to completing the certification?
Yeah, sure. So I created an account pretty easily. It wasn't really a big deal. And when you opened up the platform, so I logged in and everything was just there very clearly. And even when I had some confusions about how to use the platform, even when I contact you, there was like really quick responses. But as soon as I started my modules and starting trying to do the exams, that's when it takes time. It took me about 1 full week, like whole working week, but it was a really compact and fast-paced one for me. So if you can, let's say, spend about 4 hours a day, you can probably just be done with all modules in a week. Yeah.
Very good. I think that definitely answers the question. Another group of questions is related to, on the one hand, ongoing updates, right? What happens if the new corporate net zero standard, the draft becomes a final version? What is the implication of people who already did the certification beforehand? And linked to that is people are asking, okay, should you be and should be certified for everything? People are asking sector specific targets, flag targets. Is it like one big bucket, or can people be certified on specific pieces? So those two questions go a bit hand in hand, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. So around the kind of updates and things like that. So if you go to purchase your certification right now, which is the most up-to-date certification that we've got, this, you won't be required to purchase the whole new thing again once the kind of new standards come out. What will happen is there will be an extra kind of module that will pop up, for instance, or particular questions that will need to be answered as an alignment with the new standards. So just to preface that, you won't be required to repurchase anytime soon. The certification is valid for 2 years, and we will be releasing what the kind of renewal costs after 2 years will be towards the end of this year. With new sectoral sides, we have got lots of plans to do lots of different developments. So as you'll see in the SBTI certification page right now and the register of experts, right now you can obviously see that the certification title for everyone is exactly the same. But eventually, the reason why we've got that table in there is that we will have sectoral specific sides of things. And right now it's a very generalist. It looks at all aspects of the validation, and it does give kind of nuances of different sectoral sides, but no in-depth knowledge at the moment in each sectoral area. But we do have plans to do that.
Yeah. It's very good. Keep on, there are a lot of very good questions, right? So I keep on asking them, right? We still have a bit of time. People are asking questions, and I would exactly say the same questions right every time we have an exam. 2 questions. Can I have a test question or a sample question? And 2, what is the pass rate? I don't know whether you're already able to answer
Great
that second question, but
So the first question, if you create an account, it's free to create an account and to go onto the certification hub. So I do want to mention that it's only paid for once you start to find the resources and gain access to the resources. So you can create an account right now and go into the SBTI certification hub and see what does it look like? What does the platform look like? And within that, you will see there is a kind of pack that you can see a couple of the questions that are example questions. So you can go in there, have a look at those and think, oh, okay, what kind of standard is this expecting? And there'll be 3 questions, I think, or 2 questions from different different modules. So you'll start to see what that looks like. What was the second question again? Sorry.
On the pass rate, I know it's early days, right?
Yes.
But any reference point on that?
Yes, I don't have the exact data, but we've been very fortunate that so far we've had experts that have been working with SBTI for quite a long time. So the pass mark has been extremely high, I think above 80%, because of this. We expect as we kind of branch out a little bit more and new individuals from different areas will be joining, that may kind of wave a little bit, but we've had a really high pass mark rate, and because you get 2 tries per module, we've had some people fail on the first try, but then second try have kind of readapted their learning style and done that. So we have worked quite closely with individuals as well to figure out what it has been that they've maybe not done so well. And so, for instance, if we have had an individual that hasn't passed, we've then worked back with them to say, okay, these are the areas for improvement as well. And even though the assessment, because it's quite automated, doesn't give you yes, this was correct, this was not correct, for instance, on the questions, we are working with those individuals that haven't passed to make sure that they're prepared for the next time they go through certification.
Okay, that's very clear. And now that we're in the type of question like student prepping for exam type of questions, another question is on during, everything is online, right? So during the test itself, people can look at other resources on a second screen, but they have a time limit, or how does that work in practice, or what would you advise for people to have open on a second screen when they do the certification test?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing with certification is we're not trying to catch people out. This is very much a how you would work in practical sense with an organization. Say you're helping an organization go through validation. That's not going to be a closed book examination. So for us, it's very much of giving you what knowledge you need to know and where you need to go to find this knowledge. So you'll see within each module there is, okay, this is what you need to read and this is what you need to be aware of. And here are the company profiles and data packs that you're going to need to be able to do this particular assessment. So we would definitely recommend having either a split screen or 2 screens, or having those printed out so that you've got that with you during the examination. And as I mentioned, it is timed, and those questions do change. So if you did do the first round and didn't pass, they will change the second time. It's more about applying the knowledge. So we give you where you need to go and what are those resources that you need. And it's really about how do we then take this and actually put it into an examination side. So yeah, it's between, some are 30 minutes long and some are 2 hours long. So it can be a long sitting sometimes.
Very good. And then people are also asking, like, okay, once you are certified and you help a company setting their science-based targets, going through the validation, will that process be lighter, or is there any benefit of being an SBTI certified professional when submitting science-based targets for validation?
So as I mentioned, we aren't kind of putting them up on a higher pedestal than any other organization, just in order to achieve fairness, because we know that some individuals haven't got the capacity right now to take an examination, or maybe the financial side as well. So it won't be a benefit per se for us to prioritize those individuals, but what it will do is really simplify the process, because you will understand when you go through the examinations all the different nuances that you need to be aware of. And because we've mirrored the validation process with the certification, all modules are how you would go through actually doing the validation process. So it will really kind of clarify what that process looks like and how to go through it.
Okay, that's very clear. I see people keep on asking me on just practical guidance on how difficult is this and when should I do it, right? So there is a person, I think, who's pretty early in the phase of getting familiar with science-based target initiative. So she will definitely need to start with the learning program. But then basically the question is, should I first calculate and submit science-based targets for a handful of companies and then do the certification, or the other way around? Both,
yeah,
I know.
It's such a good question, that. I think for the nuances and the kind of difficulty sometimes of interpreting SBTI standards and the validation process, you will understand so much more once you've worked with organizations and taken them through this. So that would always be something that we would say to do that first before you go through the certification, because that will be a chance for you to really explore, okay, this is an area that I'm really struggling with, and maybe I need to upskill in this area, for instance, and maybe it's GHG inventory, or maybe it's modeling targets and sectoral specific targets, for instance. So that is the route that we would say. The Academy have got some amazing resources on there, and they're really good for figuring out, okay, where is my knowledge right now, and then kind of knowledge gaps. But between the training side and the certification side, there is still quite a big gap there. And what that looks like is the practical experience in between. So yeah, we'd always recommend that there is some practical experience before doing certification.
Perfect. Very good. No, Ella, feel free to add if you also want to add on that question, given your experience.
Yeah, sure. I definitely agree with Maddie about this. Even though everything is like open resource, it's not a closed book exams. And the introduction to module page gives you the documents you need to take a look at and what should you know. But it's not about looking at documents and finding the answers. It's about you should already be knowing that information so that you can use your own judgment to find the solution, because there is no solid answers to these kind of questions. It's a custom and really client-based questions and case studies. So it's about having the experience and applying it during the exam. So I would suggest getting a real hands-on experience would really benefit.
And there's one other question, I think specifically like for you on this one, Elif. So you mentioned you have worked with banks and climate impact in banks. I'm not sure if you explicitly mentioned, for instance, FLAG, if you also have done that examination, which is, of course, it's not a core part of financial emissions, right? So can you comment on, for instance, towards FLAG, how have you approached that?
I think I also saw that question. So when I was a consultant, I work with banks, but other than that, I work with clients from textile sector, construction, retail, aviation sector, buildings, transportation sector, and then FIs. And all of these sectors has their own specific guidances and standards for SBTI. So I already knew many standards, many SBTI standards for many sector-specific SBTI standards. So that's why it felt a bit easier. But in terms of FLAG, as Mehdi mentioned, there is no technical questions focused on flags. So I think they will be later included in the process as separate modules. So not knowing the flag sector standard wouldn't really affect you that much. I would say that.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And then there is a bunch of questions. Maybe that's the final bunch of questions more on, let's say, the commercial part of it, right? So in terms of pricing, whether it's one-off or an annual fee that people need to pay, and also a bunch of questions on how is it on a personal level? What if there is a big team? So these type of questions. So I guess they're for you, Mehdi, to answer. I'll let you answer that.
Absolutely. So what we have with certification is the main kind of certification going through what we've mentioned, the 7 modules and gaining the certificate. The price for that is $1,500 dollars. So you have to work out what that is in your currency you're calling in from today. And obviously from the call today, if you use the CAD 10, you will get 10% off that. So it will be 1,350. What we do have as well is an add-on feature to this, which is our kind of premium access. And this is a sort of 4 sessions with an SBTI internal team member in our technical operations team. What that looks like is more of a kind of one-to-one coordination. So maybe that could be you're an individual and you're going through certification and you're taking companies through the validation process. You would discuss and book in a meeting through that premium offer to find out a little bit more information about where the nuances are. For instance, that premium offer isn't for help to do certification. It's not for, I'm really struggling with this examination, I need some help. It's really for those individuals or companies that are helping go through a validation process to help understand the nuances. So helping interpret the standards and things like that, and maybe some of the challenges that they've faced so far and helping to overcome that. So that's a great way if you are, for instance, an individual and maybe you've only taken a couple of organizations through SBTI validation so far, and you're looking for a little bit of extra support to make sure you're always kind of giving the best advice or what to do in these circumstances and where the resources are for particular areas. So you can start to use that side, but no matter what, whether you're taking the add-on premium or the normal just plain certification, you will come out with the same certificate. So that's just an add-on that you can get if you're at that stage where you're looking for some extra support. So if you are a team, for instance, you need to message us directly and we can onboard and invoice the company directly. And we have a discount that's attached to that as well. It is the same discount, so 10% discount for the organization, but that will obviously be able to use with a much larger team, and we can invoice the company directly rather than it being an individual create their account and then check out and use the code, for instance. So hopefully that makes sense.
And just to be very clear on that, the certification is always linked to a person, never to a team or a company. That's correct, right?
Yes. Yes. So it is an individual professional qualification. You can choose to link your company. So in the Register of Experts, you will see that the majority of those individuals do have the organization that they're with. And a lot of the time that's because they're funded by the organization to go through this. But there is the option to go at it individually as well. Yes.
Very good. Perfect. And then indeed, I see Arvind is asking as well, like on the renewal or the validity period of a certification. Can you comment on that?
Yes, so it's valid for 2 years. So once you pass, then from 2 years from that point, it's valid for. There's no, once you purchase the certification, there's no annual fee. There is just a renewal cost after that 2 years, but that information will be released before the end of this year, and it won't be the full cost of the certification. It will be a much reduced cost from that.
Very good, perfect. And you quoted the cost in dollars. I think the euro to dollar exchange rate changed. It has become cheaper in euros, right? If there is one good thing that Donald Trump has done, then at least is that, right? I think that might be one of the only things then for us as a climate community. Very good. I think we addressed all the questions, right? So thanks a lot for everyone to put the questions in the chat. Thanks a lot, Elif, Mehdi, Juliet, to take the time to share your experience and present this beautiful initiative. What we will do over today or tomorrow, we will share the slides, we will share the recordings, and we will also share the important information that was mentioned, the links to the relevant web pages, as well as the code that you can use to get a discount if you want to get started with this over the coming 2 months. Thanks a lot to all of you for making the time today, for listening in, and for the great questions in the chat. And we wish you a great rest of the day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, Kenneth, for having us.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.